how to actually install F-Droid. I'm going to show that this is actually already hacked paper device that I've got here, but you will have the Quirklogic launcher, which is still there somewhere, is it not?
Yeah, so the Quirklogic launcher is only meant to work with Quirklogic things. So you have to replace that in order to use other software. So here's
the way to do that is to go through the browser, which is available there, and you go to fdroid.com, .org rather, and we will all the links to Corey's blog where it takes you through the tutorials there as well, and you just simply download that. So as you said, this is kind of like having a browser actually there is the one thing that rescued this device and allowed this to happen. And you can see down the bottom, I've got the option now to download the F-Droid APK, and I've already done that. But once you download it, it will download, and Chrome will crash as it always has.
The first time that you do it, you won't have access to those things. I think this is an important clarification. So the Chrome is finicky, so it might crash when you do the download. So what we have to do, and actually Kit, you helped me figure this out. I think it's just been a couple of weeks probably, but Kit, I shared this with Kit. He tried the tutorial. We wrote back and forth with email. His kind of comments were really useful. Basically, when you go to f/droid.org and you click download F-Droid, it's very likely that Google Chrome is going to crash on you. What you want to do is fully power down the Quirklogic Papyr device, fully power it down, do a full reboot at that point, a full power on, and without doing anything else, so you haven't used up those precious 2 gigabytes of RAM that you get, that Chrome uses so quickly. I think that's the real problem with Chrome on the device, is the CPU is so weak and the RAM is so low that Chrome is going to eat that CPU and RAM in a heartbeat. So what you want to do is just open that fresh Chrome and go right back to f/droid.org and try the download again. If it crashes again, power down, power it back on, wash, rinse, repeat, so to speak, until you get to that successful point of having the option to do install. The installer will look just like it does on any Android device. Yeah, which is really nice when you, and then you're off to the races.
Yeah, absolutely. And so once you can get that file, once you do have that file in hand, it will just look like an installer, and it will install very quickly actually, and it will bring you out in F-Droid, and you're good to go. And now you have essentially F-Droid is like a repository of different apps. Is that right? Is that a good way to describe it?
So yeah, it's an open source Android operating system application store for open source Android applications. So it's great. Now, absolutely. So here I've opened it, and actually here's a great showcase. This is the simple Eink launcher that I get when I'm, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, the first thing you want to do after you get F-Droid installed on the device, you can't close F-Droid or anything. It's very important. You'll have F-Droid open. Let's hope that this opens properly here. So you'll have F-Droid open. It's a little bit of a mess, but trust me, it's okay. It works. You need to install 2 things. You need to install a new application launcher so that you can actually launch these third-party tools that you're installing, because the Quirklogic launcher does not allow that. The one that's available in F-Droid that works the best that I recommend is just called Text Launcher. So I just recommend tapping install that, because then you have a working launcher. And then you want to install Keymapper. And the reason why you want to install Keymapper is because it will actually allow you to use the home button to do 2 essential functions. The first essential function is getting to your new application launcher, and the second essential function is letting you switch between portrait mode and landscape mode in applications that support it. Those 2 things I consider to be non-negotiable. So I have a simple setup there where I have a short tap of the home screen lets me do get to my application launcher of choice, and a long hold switches. It cycles between 0 degrees and 90 degrees. That's the settings that you want to choose to get that to work. After you download and install those things, you can shut down the device. And then you can turn on the device again. And in good Android fashion, you'll be greeted with the option to use either the Quirklogic launcher or the text launcher, the new launcher you've installed, as well as whether or not you wish to keep that setting permanent. You want to choose the new launcher you've installed, the text launcher, and you do want to keep that setting permanent. And then you will be greeted with a plain text list of applications that are currently installed on the device. As Kit showed you, that's what the text launcher looks like. And then you can go into the Keymapper and you can set those two things. You can set the record trigger. You can add an action to have a short press, open your application launcher, and a long press, toggle between portrait and landscape mode. And then you're really off to the races. Then now you have your device soft hacked. Now it's really important to note that the device is somewhat hard coded. I don't know what the right term is for that, to take you to the Quirklogic launcher. You might, from within your new launcher, want to hold the QL launcher application and uninstall it. Don't worry, all of your Quirklogic utilities will still work. But if you have that uninstalled, you won't have that frustrating hassle of being pushed back and forth between your new launcher and that old one that's not useful for you at all anymore, frankly. Then you get the nice text launcher like Kit has showed to you, or you can use what I have here and linked in my tutorial, which is this is the simple Eink launcher, which is what I like to use. You can download this from Bitbucket. And it looks like it was made for the device if you set all the settings to maximum. So that's really what you need to do. I know I kind of took over there, but I wanted to just make sure we got that full tutorial for.
And it is really simpler than it appeared at first glance. And I thought, oh no, it's never going to work because Chrome's not going to work. And just a little bit of perseverance, and we got there in the end. Yeah,
there's no coding, there's no rooting, there's no SSH, there's no hacking. All you're doing is rebooting Chrome and trying to get F-Droid to download, and that's the core of what you need to do. And then replace that application launcher and get Keymapper, and then you're set.
And then at the end of Corey's tutorial, again, that's linked up in the description on Corey's website, is congratulations, you now have an unlocked Eink tablet, which you can do with Astro. Absolutely. Finally, we've got to what we wanted, and I'm going to ask Corey just to talk through some of the things some of the apps that he really likes to use on his, and hopefully just give us some quick demos of a couple of them. I really am interested to see the screen share app that's coming a little bit later. You've talked through, absolutely essential to get a different launcher because the Quirklogic launcher won't let you get a hold of everything. Text launcher or simple Eink launcher. I got Relaunch X here as well, but that again is a bit busy and
it actually doesn't let you do application launching reliably on the device. I think it has something to do with that hard coding of the way the home button works. Yeah. So it's really nice as a file browser, for example.
That's exactly what I've used it for so far.
Yeah. So what you can do is if you get FTP set up, you can download third-party APK files, third-party Android application files that are listed as working with Android 5. Yes, that's downright ancient at this point, but there's still stuff out there. Yeah. And you can just find reliable websites. I hope that viewers of Kit's channel know that there are always risks with using these kind of third-party, outdated downloads. But anyway, you can find them, and what you can do is you can just load them into the downloads folder using APK. Just do a drag and drop from your computer. Open Relaunch X, you just tap on the file you've downloaded, and it gives you that installation option right there. Really useful. So for application launching, though, text launcher or the simple Eink launcher by, I do not know how to say his name, Dmitry Simbiryatin on Bitbucket works really nice too. That's what you're seeing on what you saw on my feed.
Oh, that's really what that one was. That's simple Eink launcher. Oh,
yeah. So those, I've tried a ton of application launchers, probably 7, 8. Those are the only two that really look nice on the device, frankly. Everything else is glitchy or doesn't even work. So,
yeah. And then you need to get the Keymapper to map the home button, essentially to take you back to a launcher and not take you back to Quirklogic's launcher.
Right,
And,
exactly.
You've talked about the FTP server, but this is the app you use for file transfer.
Yeah, that's right. So FTP server, parentheses free. You can download that right in F-Droid. It works out of the box. It's so simple. Now, obviously, you want to do this on your own private SSID, your own private Wi-Fi. I don't do this in public or something because it is simple. It's not SFTP, so it's not using an SSH tunnel or something like that. This is not a secure protocol. But if you're within your own private SSID, of course, you're fine then at that point. You just open the FTP server free, you just tap FTP enable, there's a little slider and you're good to go. It shows you the IP address. You just go into your file browser, type FTP : / and then the address and :port. And then the username and password are both lowercase FTP by default. And again, you get full functionality for that.
Cool.
RCX works well. Sorry.
No, crack on. Yeah. So these are your other options for file transfer, different options that you found, and they all work quite well on the device. Yeah.
Yeah. So RCX is rclone for Android. Now this is getting into more technical stuff. So if you don't consider yourself to be particularly tech savvy, I don't really recommend RCX, but rclone is really the Swiss Army knife of cloud sharing platforms, and it's really simple and elegant, and it looks great in Eink devices. So I can't recommend that enough. You can use that with OwnCloud, with Nextcloud, with Google Drive, you name it, it's going to work with RCX. Also, I got an ancient version of the official pCloud application working, which is really nice. So I use MUPDF for quick PDF viewing, and I can actually just, when I open MUPDF, it shows where do you want to open from, and it's the local directory and this ancient pCloud version. So I can open PDFs right from my pCloud, right in MUPDF. So that's really nice.
Brilliant. And then the actual sort of repositories or application management, how to actually get other things installed on here. I've got F-Droid on here.
Yeah, so F-Droid is the best by far, but the Aurora store does allow direct installation of some Google Play applications. Now, I was not able to get paid Google Play applications to work. But what you can do is you can load the Aurora Store APK, and here I'm just loading the Aurora Store on the device, and it basically gives you a kind of, let's see if I can give a little bit of better view. Yeah, so it gives you a kind of modded access to Google Play things. Now, I wasn't able to get, you're supposed to be able to sign in with your Google account and install paid applications using the Aurora store. I wasn't able to get that working properly. I'm thinking that it's because of how ancient the device is being based on, or the software is being based on Android 5. But one nice thing is the first time you fire it up, it lets you update that pre-installed Google Chrome to the latest supported version for Android 5. So you run a slightly less ancient version of Google Chrome if you install the Aurora store.
I think you're going to talk about it later, but does Eink Pro work okay on here?
Yeah, the Eink Pro works pretty well, so I'll open that right now since we're talking about it. I have both Eink Pro and also Fennec, Firefox for F-Droid from the F-Droid, for Firefox for Android from the F-Droid store. I have both of them installed, and neither is perfect on the device. They're not optimized for this large of a screen. But they're both way better than stock Google Chrome, far less likely to crash on you, and just better integration with things like the standard Android download directory and stuff like that. So here's what Eink Pro looks like. I'll just open that. So you can see, I mean, you can't even really see the interface with this view that I have here because it's so small on such a large device. But the point is, I've just, if you have DuckDuckGo Lite set as your home, or just the light version of whatever your search engine of choice might be, you'll have a fine experience using either Ink Pro or Fennec, and it'll be a lot better than stock Chrome.
Yeah, fabulous. And then reading, you mentioned this Moo PDF. Tell us about that.
Moo PDF is kind of famous in geek circles because it's this radically minimalist PDF reader. And when I say radically minimalist, I mean radically minimalist, no frills, but it uses a lot less RAM and CPU cycles than other PDF viewers, which is great for a device that's underpowered like this one is. So you see, I just opened it, and all that it gives me, the only option is to choose what file I want to open. And it gives me the option to either look in my internal storage or in the P Cloud that I have instance that I have set up. So I can just go like, the first thing that appears is just an old version of my CV. So I'll just, in the interest of time, I'll just open that, and you can see it open right up. And then you get this really nice, fast reading experience with quick page turns and stuff like that. So that's great. For other reading, I was able to get Bible time to work. I'm a theologian, so I just point that out in case anyone might want to do some like more advanced reading of different versions of biblical texts on the device. And it works really well in landscape mode on it. So that's great. And I was able to get an older version of the Amazon Kindle application, basically working on the device. Now, it's slow and buggy, but if you have to be within the actual Kindle application, you're not, let's say, using DDRM to give the book that you've bought to yourself in an actually usable format. Sorry, Amazon, but locked into Kindle is not great, and it's perfectly legal in most Western countries, at least, to remove DRM for one's own purposes. So if you're not doing that, though, and you have to be within Kindle for some reason, you can use the official Kindle application on the device. Buggy, slow, but it gets the job done. Now, do not try KO. Do not try KO Reader. That does not work at all, really, on the paper.
Yeah, and I just want to remind that all the Quirklogic software does work, including their reader as well. So the nice thing about this is you aren't losing anything, and you aren't rooting the device, which means going back to absolute basics and taking out their kind of core, I guess their core kernel of the operating system, I guess. But you aren't having to go back to that kind of top level, and you aren't destroying anything from the device. You're just changing how to launch programs so you can launch whatever you like. The other one I'm really interested to see would be the screen stream.
Yeah, let me go ahead and open that. So the application is available on F-Droid. It's just called Screen Stream, and I will pull up the stream live right now. It's blazing fast, and it is shockingly good. Actually, it's so good that it makes me chuckle a little bit. Not to throw shade unnecessarily on people doing good work, but it makes me chuckle a little bit that the RADA team took so long to release screen sharing on the Supernote, because the functionality is exactly the same with this open source screen stream utility that's available right in the F-Droid repository. Anyway, all you do is you just install Screen Stream, and then you just open it, and then you just click Start. It will show the URL that you want, the IP address that you want in your web browser. So I'm just typing that into my web browser right now. It's 192.168.1.202, blah, blah, blah. So just my local IP address. Yeah. And now what I'll do is I'll share, I'll stop sharing my paper screen, and I will share the screen stream with you. And there you go. So you folks should see that. You should see everything that's on the paper device. So this is actually really cool, because now I can hold this device in my hand and you'll see everything. So if I go to home, it'll take a second. That's the home, right? That's the home. And really, really cool, really elegant solution then. So you're able to set Screen Stream within the settings to do the full resolution of the device. And if you have a reliable Wi-Fi network, you can actually set it to a pretty high refresh rate. I mean, perfectly acceptable for a presentation or something like that. And you can do like I can go to QL Ink. Yeah, but anyway, I can go to my local then, and I can do things like go to my class materials, right? Go to stuff for my Greek class. Let's just say that I'm teaching. Let's just say I want to open chapter 1. I can use this as a kind of replacement for that functionality that we lost at the closure of Inkworks. And you can see here, really nice. So I can, let's say I want to talk about something about, pronunciation in restored classical Greek of alpha. I can just circle it just like I could before. I could change colors, all those sorts of things. So I really recommend just installing ScreenStream if you're really bummed about the departure of Inkworks. So really great stuff.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The other one I'm interested in is Eink Droid, I think you mentioned.
Yeah, so since I have the ScreenStream open, might as well leave it like this, and then you can go into so Eink. A lot of geeks who are into stuff like this are probably familiar with Eink. So you can see if you have everything set to the largest settings. By the way, I recommend going into the official Android settings application and setting the font size up from normal to either large or huge. Now, that slightly messes up the user interface for Quirklogic's official applications, but everything else looks a lot more legible on the entire device. So that's pretty important. So anyway, if you set up everything size within the Eink application and you've set the device-wide font sizes to either large or huge, you can see Eink looks pretty good here. And then, I could do something like turn to the Eink deck that I made for my own Greek students, right? I can just tap on that. Of course, now it's not going to, need to tap study. Live stream problems. But yeah, see, there you go. It shows you the word and you can say, okay, hey, what's that? And you can go through your studying right on the device, take it with you on the go. So Eink is really popular for language studying, for medical school students, and in the United States, at least with American medical schools, for law students, again, at least in North America with our legal system, because there are these big pre-prepared decks that community members have released, and being able to use it right on the devices it makes it a handy study tool for sure.
I think especially with the screen share, I think it becomes more of a no-brainer, doesn't it? And yeah, you've mentioned Microsoft Teams. I'm not going to ask you to go into that because that probably will show some email addresses and things like that. But an ancient version, you say, of Microsoft Teams actually working on the device, which is impressive that it's managed to do that. But I guess it's not a great experience. But I'd be right about that. Yeah,
that's right. So it's not recommended. It's a terrible experience. But I just point out that if you're in a position in which you have to use Microsoft Teams or some of these really big bloated proprietary utilities for your work, you can go find an ancient APK file somewhere and you can install it and you can get some of the functionality. So what I'm able to do is just open I didn't get that meeting file loaded ahead of time. I can go open the PDF inside Teams quickly in a meeting, something like that. So just, again, it adds a little bit to that professional usefulness.
Absolutely. And a couple of really interesting comments. We're going to talk about this now as well. And if there's any questions, Corey, I'm sure you won't mind hanging out and answering some questions. I've got
totally
to deliver in the next few little segments as well. We have really, really talked. We're quite enthusiastic about this this hack of this, what do we call it, a soft hack?
Yeah, that's right.
We're
a non-hack hack.
Glad that we've got some more functionality from our Quirklogic paper, and it seems like the people do as well. I guess if you can still use all the Quirklogic things, and the Android apps are just a bonus. And absolutely, the Android apps are never going to be able to use the pen as well as the Quirklogic one did. Yeah, absolutely. We describe it seems to be perfectly usable. Even better to do this launch change even before the QL support drop off. Absolutely. It seems like a bit of a no-brainer with all this being open sourced. Yes, everything that has been described, Corey described, is absolutely for free. And this is an interesting one, I thought, as well. As a software developer, I put more effort on personal open source projects. Your boss isn't watching.
Especially because the person sharing that used her full name.
So, the world of software development support those things.